Hello again to all my food warriors and welcome back to the channel. Tonight we are making mussels Provencal, mussels in the style of the region of Provence in the south of France. An absolutely phenomenal dish. I mean, light, flavorful, great source of protein with some beautiful fresh mussels, lots of veg, very flavorful dish, and very easy preparation. This is one of those things, quick weeknight meal. Or a great lunch on a weekend as well. Great dish all around, highly recommended. So what we're going to do to start off with today, we are going to start off with just getting an onion and a couple of cloves of garlic chopped up. All we want to do is start to create a base of flavors in our pot. Really, this dish is really a nice, it's a light dish. It's mussels in a beautifully flavored broth. If I was doing this with pasta, more of a mussels marinara type of thing, I'd have a much thicker sauce, but this is one where, you really want a nice flavorful broth. Dip a little bit of bread in there, get the broth in the shell with the meat. It's an absolutely fantastic combination. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start things off just with one white onion, and we're just going to cut this up. I'd say kind of a medium fine dice. I don't want any big honking pieces of onion to be in there with my mussels. And there we are. So what I want to do is just cut this up fairly fine. There we are. And then this root end we will just cut up nice and fine as well. This is a great, like I said, this is a great weeknight meal, very quick preparation. Mussels only take a couple of minutes to cook, so really most of the preparation, most of the time is spent in getting our vegetables cut up and in flavoring our broth. You can really find cultivated mussels these days. I mean, every good grocery store typically carries them. We get them at our local warehouse club. We're cooking for 4 hungry people tonight, and so we're going to be making, I'd say, about 5 pounds of mussels. Now, not all of the mussel is edible. Obviously, I'd say about at least half of the weight of that is shell, and so we want to take that into consideration when we're portioning all of this out. So as we look to get our flavorings in there and ready to go, we've got a couple of chilies here, a couple of cloves of garlic, and all we're going to do, as usual, just crush our garlic. There we are. And then we're just going to cut this, slice this nice and thin. All right. And we'll just run our knife through it. What we want is our garlic to be cut roughly the same size as our onion. We want all of this fairly uniform. There we are. And then we've got our 2 chilies. We're just going to slice these up nice and fine. There we are. Get rid of our little stem end here. Now this is going to give a little bit of heat. I am keeping the seeds in there as well. There we are. All right. So now we will get our pan going. There we are. Kind of on medium heat. We'll get a good bit of olive oil in there. Now this is a French-inspired recipe, and most people think, France, butter. In Provence, they use olive oil. Provence is a region in the south of France. Their cuisine is very similar to what you would find in Italy, and so they use a lot of the same ingredients. They are quite fans of they're quite big fans of garlic in their cooking. They use quite a bit of olive oil. It's a very warm climate relative to what you typically find in France, and they tend to use olive oil for their cooking rather than butter. And so we will just start to sweat these down again over medium heat. A little bit of salt and pepper. I want to be quite mindful of the salt because the brine that comes out of the mussels is a little bit salty, and so I want to take that into consideration as I'm seasoning my vegetables here. So just one little pinch of salt, and that's about it. While this is sweating down, we are going to cut up some other vegetables here as well. I've got about 6 medium-sized tomatoes. So these are probably about golf ball size. You could use cherry tomatoes for this as well. If I was using a cherry tomato, I'd simply cut it in 4 and then throw it in at the appropriate time. All I want to do is really get that stem end off. There we are. And then I want to cut this up into a fairly fine dice. Now, if you were doing this for a dinner party, what I would do is I would take the tomatoes, cut a little cross on the bottom, put them in boiling water for about 20 to 30 seconds, peel the skin off so I'm just left with the flesh of the tomato, take the inside, kind of that jelly on the inside, that extra water, I would take that out, and then I would dice just the fillet of the tomato. It's called tomato concassé. If I was doing that for a dinner party and I wanted to impress, that would be the preparation for a typical weeknight dinner. It's all about being rustic and really no need to peel the tomato. So all I want to do here is just really cut this up kind of fine slices. There we are. There we are. So this is how I will prepare my tomatoes. I'm just going to let this sweat down for another 2 or 3 minutes. In the meantime, I will dice my tomatoes and I will see you in about 5 minutes. All right, we are back. We have our tomatoes beautifully cut up. There's a fair bit of juice on this board. I don't want to lose any of this juice. I want to make sure that this all ends up in my pot here. And so we're just going to slide this in and we'll look to guide as much of that juice in there as well as we can. There we are. All right. So this is the beginning of our broth. Now every one of these ingredients is going to bring a little something different to this broth. To start things off, we have our onions. Our onions going to bring a good bit of sweetness. We've got our garlic and our chilies. Those will add certainly some depth of flavor. Now I am going to add just a tiny bit of salt because I do want those tomatoes to release, there we are, to release their liquid. The tomatoes are going to bring some fruitiness, some sweetness, some acidity as well, some mild acidity. And all we want to do is start to get this cooking down. This is going to be basically the base of our broth. Now to this, we're going to add a teaspoon of a spice blend called Herbe de Provence. This is a traditional spice blend of the region. This has thyme. This particular one has thyme, basil, savory, marjoram, and a little bit of lavender. And it's really a unique spice blend to the region. But really, this brings a good bit of flavor to the party. But we want to add this at this point because the spices are dry, and we want the liquid from the pot to start to allow those spices to bloom and really infuse into our broth. There we are. So now we are about ready to add our mussels. I'm going to raise the heat here. Now our mussels have been washed and just put under a damp piece of paper towel. So what we have here, this is about 5 pounds of mussels. Now anything that comes in the package, whether it's in the mesh bag or in a sealed package, you want to make sure that if it's open, you give it a little tap, it should close. You want the mussels to be alive when you cook them. You don't want to be cooking and eating any dead mussels. You may run the risk of food poisoning if you do that. So if it's open and it doesn't close, err on the side of caution, toss those out. But these have been very thoroughly washed. Just put a piece of damp paper towel to keep it moist. I've got the heat in my pot that I'm looking for. And now what I'm going to do is throw in these mussels. There we are. Perfect. Now as the mussels open in the pot, they will release their brine into the broth. To this I'm also going to add, again, a good 5 or 6 ounces of a dry white wine. I want this to, again, start to create some steam at the bottom of the pot, and that's going to allow those mussels to open. So we're just going to put a lid on here. As we are washing our mussels, it's important to notice as well, sometimes they have what's called a beard on the outside. It's what affixes the mussel to what it's attached to keep it from being washed away in its ocean environment. What you want to do is really yank that off as you're washing them. So give them a good wash under cold water, cold running water. I usually give them a little bit of a scrub as well with an abrasive brush, and I yank those beards out. Once that's done, the mussels are ready to go. So we are going to give this about 5 or 6 minutes or so. I'm going to throw a loaf of bread in the oven just to get it nice and crispy. Perfect accompaniment to this dish. We are going to give this about 5 or 6 minutes to steam and to let those mussels open up, and I will see you in about 5. All right, it's been a few minutes. Before we check on our mussels, we've just got some flat leaf parsley here. This is about 6 or 7 sprigs of parsley that I've just given a quick wash to, and all I want to do is get this finely cut up. And this is going to be the last flavoring that we do put in our pot. And I'm cutting up stems and all here. No need to waste any of that. It's all good flavor, and we're going to use it all. There we are. So we're just going to cut this up fine and then run our knife through it. There we are. There we are. And all right, so we will see how our mussels are doing. Oh, they are starting to open up. We will just give these guys a quick stir. Oh. The perfume coming out of here is absolutely gorgeous. There we are. So we will get our parsley in there just to finish over the last 2 minutes of steaming, and we are basically done. There we are. So I will just give this another stir. All right. There we go. We will cover this up. Give it another, I'd say, 3 minutes. And we will go right to the plate. I will see you in about 3 minutes. All right, I think our mussels are just about there. We're going to check our pot. And these guys are all looking like they have opened up. Literally, as soon as they've opened up, they are ready to go. We don't want to cook these too long. We don't want to overcook them, rather. If we overcook these, they get very, very tough, very rubbery. All we want to do is just have these steamed open. Oh. And what is in there is just this beautiful, delicate flesh. Well done. Like that. All right. So what we are going to do, I like serving these in a big wide bowl. And the reason being is there's just as much culinary value here, culinary currency in the meat of the mussel as there is in the broth. So we put a lot of work into making sure that this broth was nicely flavored. So we want to make sure that we can take advantage of that now. Now, whenever I do take these out of the pot, I always use a big spoon. I never take the pot and just dump it over. And the reason being, if there's any bits of shell that would have broken off during cooking while we were stirring these, we want to make sure that that stays at the bottom of the pot. And so even as we get down to the bottom and we are serving up that broth, we want to make sure that we're doing that with a spoon. So any of the gritty bits can stay at the bottom of the pot. There we are. Now, the smell of that is absolutely stellar. Now, the way I like to eat these, I'm just going to grab one of these here. Oh, look at that. Look at that beautifully plump mussel right in there. I basically just break this off, and you see all that juice, all that broth. If you don't have any, just go down to the bottom of the bowl and make sure we fill that up. And this way we've got some of our vegetable base, some of our broth, some of our mussel. Meaty, delicate, briny, absolutely fantastic. There is no fishy flavor to that at all. It tastes beautifully clean, beautifully briny. And to really enjoy this, we got to get a piece of bread here. We're just going to go into this caveman style. You want to make sure if you break off a piece of bread here, you just get right down into that broth. Oh, and soak that up. All the work that we did to put all that flavor in there, I'm telling you, this will be just as good as any piece of mussel that you get. That's a game changer right there. Unbelievably healthy. This is great, lean, high quality protein. This with a green salad, a little bit of crusty bread. There is nothing finer. Absolutely fantastic. Literally, we can have dinner ready, including all the prep and all the washing, in about 15 minutes. So great for a weeknight dinner. Great for a light lunch. I do hope you try it. As always, do like and subscribe to the channel if you find the content at all useful. Do share it among your friends and among your online community. And this is Coach Joe saying I will see you on the next one. Just one more thing that I just remembered. So before you go, if there are any mussels that come out of the pot that haven't opened up, discard those. Don't eat them. Don't eat them. We want to make sure that you don't give yourself food poisoning by doing that. Better to be safe than sorry. So any that come out of the pot still closed, toss them away. I will see you on the next one.